Hello, everyone, on Women Dialogues. And I'm your host, Shashi, to create more voice for women and by women. And today's our guest joining us from Portugal, and she is a leadership consultant and a lot of work she's doing for in mentoring, coaching, and she's founder of her own company and organization. And all those things we will talk and listen in detail by hearing her 20 years of professional experience from Esther. She is joining us from Portugal, and let's dive into deeper, and without getting delay, hear about her life journey, about her all those moments of developing herself the way today she is. So, welcome, Esther, on this platform.
Hello, Shashi, and thank you very much for this invitation. I'm thrilled to be here to see the work that you're doing because I think one of the things that I really think that women, in order to become more aware of her leadership needs, is more role models, and they need to hear the experience or the voice or the journey of other women. So this program, this channel that you have, giving voice to other women from different characteristics, from different places in the world, it's amazing, because sometimes, and I get to hear that a lot, is like they see us on the media, they see us like in the successful images, and they say, and people think that, or maybe young women would see us like very far away to reach that. And I just wanted to say that it's not that far away, and that not always that you see in the media is always like that. There is a lot of work behind. There are downs as well, which I'm happy to share with you today. And those moments are the ones that make you lift up and find your glow. That's why everything that I do, it's called Glow, and Glow with Confidence, and that's the theme that I wanted to bring today here, because it's all my own journey and all
Yeah,
the things that I learned along
yeah.
the way. So I'm thrilled to be here with you and giving voice to these stories.
That's wonderful, and I'm really glad, and I'm super excited to hear your journey, the way you have gone through, the way you have developed, and the way you was explaining. It is really important to bring those journey and bring that confidence, that motivation, that inspiration for all other our audience who are listening and watching us. As you said, it is a process. We need to go through this process, and we same time when we are sharing, we are building up that confidence in ourselves and in our audience who are listening and watching us. So let's start talking about your early childhood. Share something about your early childhood journey, what way you developed, what way you grew up, what kind of things you had, or how those all those factors contributed in your path of success.
Yeah, for first of all, I was born in Venezuela, and I'm the daughter of a Hungarian mother and a Portuguese father.
Wonderful.
So, also having parents that were immigrants, I was always exposed to a different attitude in life, like to learn about my environment, to learn about everything that I have, and appreciate and be grateful for all the opportunities that we have. And I think one of the most things that really was a stepping point in my life was when I was a teenager. I was very shy. I was a very introvert person, and I remember I belonged to a club or an organization to do things for the community. And I remember that the group was so small that I needed a president for the following year to run the organization. And because there were only 5 people, and I was the youngest one or the newest one, they said, well, Esther, you need to be the president for next year, because we don't have all of us, we have been presidents, so we cannot repeat. So if you are next in the round, you're like, but I'm so young. And I was 17 years old, going to 18.
Wow.
And that was the first experience that I had to talk which at the time I talk in public, and the public was 5 people in a round table. At my age, a little bit more, but I staggered. I was, and then I flushed. I put my face was red, and and I was so disappointed in the sense that saying that I can't believe that if I want to do something for my community and I want to do a project to improve the life of other people, I cannot do that because I don't feel comfortable talking to 5 people. So I at the time I talked to my mom, and then I said if she could help me to improve that, and then she organized or arranged a course for me to train those skills and blah 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 and all these things. And in that place that I did that, I had a dream at that day, which was when I grow up, I want to build an organization in order for young women and for young girls be confident enough to talk and to do all the work that they wanted to do. But that's the kind of dream that it gets in the back of your head, but then life takes you to different places until one point in your life that you recover that dream. And this is what I did being a grown-up. But it was funny. That was one of the first seed that made me realize that we don't need to change. Yeah, and that's something important I want to highlight. We don't need to change who we are or our personality, because I didn't abandon, or I didn't have to resist my personality. I'm an introvert person, but that doesn't mean that I cannot improve my skills about talking into public, or if I have to train how to dress or image consulting or whatever to do things in public. Those are just skills. That doesn't mean that I need to leave who I am, okay, and abandon my characteristics, my own characteristics. And that's something very important, because some women that I work nowadays, I work especially with women entrepreneurs and women in her leadership roles. And I get to hear a lot of women saying that they don't feel comfortable in their skin, or they don't feel comfortable doing that or doing this. And sometimes, Shashi, we get these messages that we have to be like the way men live in order to be respected. And we don't need to do that. We can be ourselves and still be a great leader. And actually, I think that what the world needs is more balance in the female energy. Because all humans have both energies, female and masculine. But I think a lot of women, maybe they have been influenced to become more masculine because of the environment. And I don't think we need to change who we are in order to fix or to get into the environment that we are exposed to. Actually, this is something that I talk about in my book. I actually wrote a book called Glow with Confidence, because it's about my journey about becoming more confident about myself without not leaving out who I am. And I talk about the 7 barriers of entrepreneurs, women entrepreneurs. One of them is that thing about
so just I would like to ask you, we will bring your book and we will bring these all 7 points later, but just I would like to ask you about the point when you was talking about this, your early childhood experience, or not early childhood, I can say that this teenage experience, very early is this leadership role as given to you, put into on the table to speak out, right? And you got that feeling you got that gut feeling, oh, if I want to be seeing myself, or if I want to be doing that in my future, but I'm not able to perform. And you ask your mother to get that help, which you are really needed, right? And many times, many women get stuck on that platform or on that movement. How you got that? How maybe it can be a movement like how you got all these things. Share with us, because I would like to share with our audience.
Well, first it's to have someone who mentor me. I think to have someone that mentor us. If it
Yeah.
doesn't show, then look for it, because we for instance, I see myself as someone that's always learning. So I always have looked for a mentor. In that time, obviously, my mother was my first and most inspiring mentor that I have. But
Yeah.
I remember at the end of that year, my organization went from 5 people to 30. It
Wow.
was something that was in all the other communities, in the other organizations didn't have something like that, especially at that
Mm-hmm.
age.
Yeah.
And taught me something that I didn't realize. And this is something that I can share with you, which is, until I wasn't in the job doing that, I didn't realize all my capabilities, because, and this is something very important to remember, everyone that is listening, the things that are most easy for us to do, our
Mm-hmm.
talents, are our gifts and our talents. And because they are so basic, so natural for us to do it, we don't
Mm-hmm.
see it as something special.
Yeah.
And then we are always looking as a reference to other women or to other leaders.
Mm-hmm.
But we don't realize that we have a gift, okay?
Mm-hmm.
But because it's so obvious for us, for instance, there are people that are gifted talking to people and connecting and organizing things and events and everything, okay? And I love to do that, and I'm good at doing that. And at the time, I didn't realize that, because for
Yeah.
me to gather things, join people, let's put this together, create a project, for me it was so natural to do it, but I didn't realize that I have a talent doing that, because I never
Yeah.
had the opportunity. And how many women do we have in the world that
Right.
they don't put themselves in the job, or put themselves in the situation to show what your capabilities are, to
Right.
show even for yourself. You don't need
Yeah.
to show it to anybody else.
Right.
Do it for you. And
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's good to ask other people that we trust their confidence, and say, what do you admire in me? What do you see in me that you think I do easily, but for you it would be something challenging? Because we don't
Right.
realize how many things we do things very easily.
Yeah.
And for others are like, oh, I don't know, how can you talk to someone that you don't know, just, and chat and start a conversation? It's like, I didn't used to be able to do it, but then I learned how to do it. And then it comes so natural, and the more you expose yourself to new situations, you learn more about you. So this is all about you and yourself,
Mm-hmm.
learning about what the things you enjoy doing, because most of the times your talents are things that you do so naturally and with joy, and
Mm-hmm.
and you don't think, you don't feel that you are working. Most of the time I don't feel like I'm working, because all the things that I did when I was in that organization, and this was an organization, a voluntary organization, and I wasn't paid for doing that. It's like I could do that for free, because I do enjoy organizing things,
Yeah.
creating projects for the community, organizing people,
Mm-hmm.
putting things to move forward.
Yeah.
I really am thrilled of doing that, and people and connect people. That's why I created what I created, the organization I created, because I do it
I
natural.
think I think that's you brought very sound and very important point when you are talking about the work and passion, where you really feel like you are getting thrilled, you are enjoying that moment or the process or the work which you are doing, and you really get energized by doing that. And I really feel it's very solid. It's very important when we are looking for our work, our success, our profession, what way we are seeing it, and especially when we are talking about all these, and we are talking about how they can build this leadership qualities or how they can see themselves. I think it's very sound topic. That's wonderful, wonderful. So when we are coming back on your book, the book you have published, Glow with Confidence, tell us about this. You was mentioning about some 7 points. We would like to hear more about that.
Yeah, actually, it has to do with the rest of the journey. Then I went to study international relations, but I was in between international relations of psychology, because something that I really was passionate about was to try to understand how our mind works. But also I like the international relations because I wanted to know their cultures, to know,
Yeah.
to get to see the world and all that
Yeah.
stuff. And it's funny because I used to say that today I do both in a different way. And
Yeah.
that's the second thing that I wanted to share with
Yeah.
our audience today, which is sometimes we start our job life in one area.
Mm-hmm.
And then, because of the experience that we're having there, we realize what makes sense or not to us. And then we're making choices. And it's very important, Shashi, that we put into the table this topic, which is you make choices, but don't judge them and don't judge yourself. Because every single decision, every single choice that I have in my life left me to the following step, to the following place where I needed to be to have more awareness about the things that I needed to be aware of in order to go to the next level.
Yeah.
An example, when I finished my international studies in Venezuela, my parents gave me the opportunity to continue studying in London.
Mm-hmm.
And then I studied an international master degree in business and everything. And then I went to the market to start my job, and I went to work in a trading company with oil, the oil and raw materials. Okay.
Right.
And at the time, I was very excited to start my new job because it was the dream job of most of my peers and my colleagues. Okay. And I was in London, in a big city, you know, all the dream. And after a few months, and before I have 1 year working in the company, I was feeling miserable. I got sick. I had pain in my stomach going just to know on Sundays that on Monday I have to work. And I couldn't understand. Sashi, I'm in the dream job. I come from Venezuela and I'm in London, and in this big company, in this trading company with a beautiful salary, all the things that my colleagues, my peers would love to have. I'm feeling so sad, so miserable. And I couldn't understand. And then was when I started my journey about self-development, about learning more about myself, my skills. I remember I was at the time did my first the disc self-analysis. I don't know how do you say that. It's like a test for you to know what are your
Psychological
phenomena.
self-analysis. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And the coach, when she told me the results, is like, Esther, you are like in the people and task-oriented vector, the chart says, you are so, the highest value is people-oriented, and I'm in a job which is task-oriented, like in the opposite side.
Right.
And then she was telling me about other things, and I was in the opposite side of everything. And it was so clear. It was like a huge message because I was
Kind of, I think,
following
yeah, it's a relief.
what
Like you are
all the
able to find.
rest.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I took that experience as a beautiful example. I always repeat this in my trainees and with my mentees, because sometimes you get into a point in life where you feel miserable with the work you're doing, and you feel bad with yourself because you feel like you are useless. Because I got almost to in the line to reach a depression because I did have a burnout at that time, and I was very young to have a burnout. And it was in a period of less than a year. I didn't actually complete a year, and I was feeling like that, so young, and feeling completely devastated. And all the values of the company were not the same that I have.
Right. Yeah.
and then, you know, that experience showed me what it is that I'm not capable or not willing to do, which is work for that, like for a company with that kind of characteristics. Um, and here the message for the people that are listening to us is, sometimes if you are in that place where you don't feel like you fit in someone or in some place,
Yeah.
get out of that thought, because we don't need to fit in any place. Because every time you feel like you're trying to fit in, that's not for you. We don't need to try to fit in something, because I believe that we are infinite beings. An infinite being doesn't need to fit in any place. If you feel that the environment you are not, I do the story of the ugly duck. I don't know how to say it in English. It's like, it's not the pond you are swimming the right pond. Maybe it's in another pond. But you are a beautiful creature. You don't need to try to fit into someone's reality, because you can create your own reality or your own life. So I think it's a question of be aware of the situation, not judge yourself, but see what else can I choose here? What else can I go or do different? And choose something else, because every time we choose something without not judgment, we open new possibilities. And then I moved from England and I moved to Portugal, because my parents in the meantime, they moved everything from Venezuela to Portugal, and I came here to move with them. And then I started from zero in a different area completely, because one thing I was sure, I didn't want to work for that kind of work again. And at the time, they were looking for people here in Portugal that were able to teach Spanish, because they were having a lot of programs for people in the companies to teach that languages in the companies. And because Spanish is my mother tongue, and I said, well, why not? So I sent my resume to the companies. I got an interview and I said, well, can you start in 3 days? Because we have a teacher that got sick. And then we need you to prepare the class in 3 days. I was like, okay. So I put hands to the job, and then I started right away. And then I started, and being a Spanish teacher, it wasn't my dream job, but it was a mean to get to where I am now, because I needed
think
to
it was
work
more
to pay the
about like the
bills.
way, as you said, the people oriented versus task oriented. And when you was feeling like, okay, you found a platform where you are really interacting with the real life, real people, it sounds like it brings you back to that having passion, zeal, excitement for your life and for your work.
Yeah, and then learn something new in that job, which is I love teaching. I love being in contact with people. I love convey a message. So, all the steppings, all the steps were leading me to what I do now. So this step about teaching Spanish, it wasn't like the end of the line, but it gave me experience talking more in public. It gave me experience about teaching, organizing the training, organizing all the things, dealing with students, which were adult students, which is, different. And it was a whole curve of learning. And once I end that road, I said, well, I'm ready to launch my own concept, which was about becoming confident, because that was the thing that I realized that was my passion. So if I can teach something about how to become more confident, about how to approach, and then imagine, when I was 17 years old, communicate was my biggest challenge. Guess what was the first topic I was going to give training about? Communication.
Yeah.
How do you communicate with your body? How do you communicate with your clothes, with the way you look, the way you put your either hair or whatever, and all the things that are implied in communication, and how do you communicate with yourself, your inner dialogue. So, you know, I started from there and then developed a concept about branding, but personal branding about yourself, because it was for me all about that. How do you how you glow from the inside to the outside? Because it's never out there, Shashi. And I want that to stress a lot of that, to highlight that. It's never outside you, it's always inside us.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we are talking all about like personal branding, image consulting, leadership, and bringing all those on one platform, how was like that? Because usually people feel it is challenging, it is a difficult task, but it's like as you said, you started on your personal life. But when we are talking about your professional experience, bringing all those components in your work, in your life, in your work, how was your experience? Do you have any incident or story where you feel like, yes, I made that? Because when we see we are doing something and someone's, even though those are our, we can say like we are consulting someone or we are dealing professionally someone, but having sense of accomplishment by seeing those people are reaching their success, the desired goal is accomplished task. So how you bought all those components and deliver to your clients?
There's something that I want to share, and something that I hear a lot in my students and my mentees, which is sometimes what you have to offer is too ahead of your time. Let me explain. I have the pleasure to work with women that are, you know, wonderful in the sense that they are so humble in what they know and what they are. But maybe we live in a society which praise, or I don't know if it's misunderstood, how humble, to be humble or not value yourself enough. And these two terms get mistaken, and sometimes because we don't see exactly the value in our ideas, because, you know, all the environment always say, no, you don't have to say that in loudly or whatever. I see a lot of visionary women with visionary projects.
Yeah.
And the phrase that I hear the most is like, this doesn't work because the market doesn't, they don't like this, or they are not ready for this, or whatever. And this is exactly what I felt 20 years ago when I started talking about personal branding. Nowadays, everyone is talking about personal branding. I'm not there anymore. I'm not doing any personal branding anymore. I'm talking about conscious leadership now, and I'm doing something else ahead. But what I wanted to say is that at that time when I started about talking talking about personal branding, I got a lot of, Esther, why don't you look something that more real, like get a proper job or get something, you know.
Right.
And how do you feel, how do you think make you feel something when people say that, like repeatedly number of times? It's like, get something serious, get a proper job, get something normal. It's like, what if what you want to do is not normal? What about if the idea that you have,
Right,
it's ahead, and because it's so new for the people, they are not able to see it? And I usually use a metaphor, which is, sometimes I use football because Portugal is a football country, which is sometimes when you have people sitting in the front row of a stadium, a football stadium, you see perfectly the players, the legs of the players, the ball and everything. You see it like very clearly in front of your head.
yeah.
But sometimes when you're sitting at the back, you know, in the last row behind, you can see the whole stadium. You can
Right.
see the whole strategy of the game.
Yeah.
And what happens is, because you're sitting in the back row and you have a broader vision, you're trying to communicate what you're seeing to the person that is sitting in the front row, which is, by the way, behind, in the back, like you are in the back of her. So she's giving you her back, okay? And you're trying to talk to someone who is not able to see what you're seeing because the angle of what they're seeing is very narrow.
Right.
So
Right.
sometimes you're trying to push what you're seeing or your
Yeah.
vision to someone that is not able to see what
Yeah,
you're
I think
seeing.
that's very crucial, or I can say it's very tricky, because the way you explain, like having the vision, where what way you are seeing, narrow versus broader vision, because it depends what way you are looking that things, what way you are seeing the opportunity. And the one thing, like you explained, when you started in your very early career years, this personal branding and image consulting and all kind of business, which was not in the market, it was definitely, it was kind of challenging, but it was having broader vision to see the things you were seeing. And nowadays it's everywhere, it is everywhere, it's very common, right? Everyone is looking for these things. So when we all talk about all these kind of work, your consultancies, your leadership, your organization, so what way you feel these coming generations or our audience who are listening us can develop their vision, like narrow versus broader?
I think the first thing is to put yourself in the situation to try and to put your hands on the whatever you want to try. Because in my experience, if you don't, there is a book that I always recommend, which is called Ready, Fire, Aim, instead of Ready, Aim, and Fire, which is prepare enough to go to the market or with your project or whatever you want to launch, and then
Mhm.
launch it and test it, and then receive feedback, and then twist whatever is needed to twist and to adjust to
Mhm.
become always improvement. Why I
Hmm.
said that? Because women have a tendency to wait until everything is perfect to go out to the market or to send
Yeah.
your CV or
Hmm.
to launch your new project. Okay, what happens if you are waiting to be
Hmm.
perfect? You
Yeah.
will never go out to the market.
It's like
And at the end of the day, there's
procrastination.
nothing like perfect. And I have a very great example in 2013. I felt I have the vision. And you know, this thing about the broader vision is it's always in you. It
Mhm.
doesn't come like, you know, in a paper and beautiful draw and everything. No, it's something like a gut feeling. It's something that you feel like it goes. I have to go to this way. I don't know why. You don't need to know the logic on that, because it's not logic. Because your wisdom, you know what is true for you. Now, I'm
Yeah.
not talking about right or wrong. I'm talking about true for you. Because what
Mhm.
is true for you, maybe it's not for someone else, but it's for you. And a lot of
Yeah.
women live about the right and wrong judgments about others and not about their truth.
Yeah.
So that's one thing. And the second thing, you always know because it's inside you. And the only way to do it, Shashi, is try and follow what you feel is
Yeah.
true for you. In
That's super.
2013,
That is very super. Try and follow, and just don't try to be perfect and fit in these kind of. I think those are very static, and those are very very perfect example in when we're talking about that fit in, rather than being your creating your own reality. And when you're talking about procrastination, when you're talking about these all the beautiful way that when you explain about, it is wonderful.
the example that I was going to give is that in 2013, I felt, and this was the gut feeling that I have, that I needed to go online in my courses and my trainings and all in my job. And then I invested in trainings, in platforms. I did a course on how to create all the modules for a training course, a signature system and everything, blah, blah, blah. And my husband was watching everything that I was doing, you know, being on 3 in the morning, studying and learning and, you know, getting my mind around platforms, technology and blah, blah, blah. And then it comes the big day of the launching of my first course. And I have 0 sales. And it was a complete failure, I said. And I was very disappointed because then you have your husband or someone near next to you that said, you see, you have invested in so much money in this, so much time, you know, you're doing something, because they couldn't see what I was seeing in 2013. And then I decided to give more voice and more importance to what other people told me rather than what I felt. And then I put that project in a drawer, I put it away, and I never touched that project again. And then I continued to do my trainings, you know, going to the companies, going to places, my speeches, engagements, and everything. Until 2016, I have a colleague of mine that I went to her and said, listen, I want to do a refresh in my brand, because I was very into Glow Women Club, which is the organization I created to promote women leadership, but I want to work my own brand, Esther. And I want to talk about my journey, my experience, but I don't know how to begin. Please help me. And this colleague of mine says, okay, so let's start doing the work, and says, show me everything that you have created. And I show her that project in 2013, which is called Glow with Confidence. And I said, but you know, I was like myself talking about my project. Oh, but that's nothing. It didn't went well because I launched it and nobody bought it. So, you know, whatever, but it's here. And this is what I created. And when she read that, it's like, Esther, you have a gold mine here. I was like, what do you mean? Esther, you have a signature system, you have all the steps, you have all the tools, you have all the things. This is a journey, this is transformation. Like, you know, the woman was like really? For when I launched it, nobody bought it.
Because it's like again having doubt on yourself, what way I should take it, because you feel like, okay, it was earlier, I tried and I didn't
see what was so natural for me, so obvious. Someone from the outside have to see and show it to me. And you know what she told me? It's like, Esther, the only thing that needed to hear this project is how to know how to launch it, because to launch digital products requires a special strategy, and you didn't have them. But it's not about the product that you created, it's about the strategy you used to launch it into the market. So let's see this with a different eye, and let's do it again and see what happens. You don't have anything to lose. I was like, okay. So we did all the branding and all the things, all the strategy and the marketing and everything. And guess what? This is how this was born. Wow. So from a failure, a big failure that I consider a big failure, was created the bootcamp, the digital bootcamp, Glow with Confidence, is my product that sells the most. And then after that, it turns out to become a book, and now I'm translating it into English and Spanish as well, because it's only in Portuguese at the moment. And with that, I want to tell you and the people that are listening to us that if I didn't went to that failure, maybe it wasn't what it is nowadays, because I have to live to see that experience in order for me to learn, because that was such a big learning for me.
Definitely.
That I have that present every single day of my life. I don't,
I can
there is
see that.
nothing I do in my job.
A part of hearing, I can see that by the way you explained, the way it's beautiful cover of your book, and you publish it, you make it. Yeah, sometimes it's true to how you have to get into those. Is these are minor steps, but we sometimes we miss it. But how they can be very important tool for our success. So when we are talking about it, you share a lot of wonderful experiences, a lot of wonderful talk to us and to our audience. But before finishing, I just would like to ask, why do you think a platform like this Women Dialogue is needed? As you explained in early in the starting of this session, but still, why? What do you think?
Why is needed?
Yeah.
That's a question?
Yeah.
Because I said in the beginning, Shashi, because we need, I feel like we need more role models, more examples of women from different skin color, from different ethnic, from different cultures, from different backgrounds,
Yeah.
to show that it's possible to
Yeah.
live your dream, to do whatever you feel like is true for you.
Yeah.
And it's also important to hear from someone that have reached a certain point to see the journey, which is something that you're doing now.
Yeah.
Because it's not when up to the point that you get here that you see things
Yeah.
from this point of view.
Right.
I have my darkest moments, I have my depressions, I have my self-doubt moments. I went through all that, and I know a lot of women have gone through that as well. But I'm just here to tell you that it's possible to move out from that state. It's possible to create your own life. If you change your point of view, you change your reality. Okay, that's the main thing that I learned. Everything that we create is about projecting our point of view. So if you change your point of view about things, things are going to start changing.
Wow,
but if you don't
that's
are
super
willing,
powerful. Thank you,
if you're
Esther.
not
Thank
willing
you
to
for
change your
sharing
point of
that
view,
point.
forget it.
Yes, that is super powerful. It is all about point of view. That's super powerful point I learned, and I feel like yes, our audience also learn about this point of view, how you can change, how you can create, how you can make the way you want, and that's super powerful. Once again, thank you so much, Esther. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you, Shashi. Congratulations once again. Feel free if you or anyone that watching this, I'm on LinkedIn, and if one want to ask me a
Yes,
question, I'm
yes,
more than happy
definitely.
to answer.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I would definitely put those all details in the description as well, to make people, our audience or our viewers feel free to get connect with you, to learn from you, to listen, to watch, or to join your with their path of success, with their path of life journey and all about. So once again, thank you so much, and thanks to our all viewers. If you would like to hear more women voice and part of Women Dialogues, please connect with us. Please share, subscribe, like, and thank you. And see you in the next episode. Don't forget to check, as I said, Esther's work. Her details are available in the description as well. Till then, take care. Till then, bye bye. Enjoy.